Section 6.2, Problem 1. You're actually finding the inverse. These are the basic rules for finding the inverse. You can see it written many different ways. Write out the function as y equals. So in other words, instead of f of x, put a y equals. Swap the x and y. Make y the subject. That simply means solve the equation for y. And then instead of y equals, change it to f inverse of x. So put it back in an inverse function notation. Okay, the function here is x squared plus 3. Nothing. X squared plus 3 is your function, and x is greater than equal to 0. It is a one-to-one function now that the domain was limited to when x is greater than equal to 0. So we've got the original function. We replace f of x with y. We interchange the x and the y. You swap them, interchange them, whatever you want to call that. Then you want to take and solve for y. So you need to get y by itself. Move the 3, make it negative. Take the square root of both sides. Of course, technically you have to allow for the plus and the minus. But based on the idea that this was just positive, you're going to take just the positive root here for y. And once you've done that, then the y can be replaced with f inverse of x. And this should look like that instead of this. F inverse of x. So that's the inverse of the function. You're using the function notation. Now, the domain of the original function was given as x is greater than equal to 0. The range of that would be y is greater than equal to 3, which is the domain of the inverse. Of course, you know that you would set that greater than equal to 0, solve, and x is greater than equal to 3 for the domain of the inverse. That became the range of the original. And the domain of the original function is the range of the inverse. Here you've got both graphed. Right here in the red is f of x, and the green is the inverse. And this line is y equals x. And a function and its inverse are supposed to be symmetric to the line y equals x. And as you see, the point 0, 3 and the point 3, 0. The x and the y's have flipped, and actually put this in that f of x is the one in red and the f inverse of x is in green, and that line in purple is y equals x. And that's the line that inverse functions are supposed to be symmetric to. If you'll follow the steps and don't get too big of a hurry, these should work out well for you. Important concept for mathematics.